Okay, so today is November 30th, and the topic of today's lecture from the book Affirmations for the Inner Child by Raquel Lerner is needs. I will meet the needs of the child within now. Ever since childhood, I have lived by the principle of work now and play later. There was little hearted, heartedness or fun in my dysfunctional family. Pain was the dominant experience. Pleasure was always something to be experienced later, when the current trauma had passed. Well, later never seemed to come, and I grew to adulthood with a distorted view of life. I believed that the present is for working and taking care of problems, and the future is for pleasure. Maybe. Yet, it's not too late to help my inner child learn to play. Indeed, if I am to recover, I must learn to balance work and pleasure. Today I will take time for light-hearted joy as well as for work. Well, that's the reading of today, which I have to say I don't particularly agree with too much, right? I mean, of course, there are situations that, as the reading says, and if you grew up right in an environment more a little bit beyond that, only just the family, right? But an environment in which you didn't learn to enjoy life, in which you were miserable all the time. If you lived in an environment where you didn't have enough resources, or if everything was negative, right? There were always negative uh, energies and karmas and uh, relationships and situations, all those were negatives, then I would say, of course, yes, people have to learn to enjoy life, and you have to take care of, start thinking, right? You have to start thinking about, well, not taking it too seriously. But then you have to start thinking that, well, there are many things that are not negatives. Work is not a negative thing. I don't agree with that in the way they put the word work in this text. Work is not a negative thing, and that's what I don't particularly agree with the reading. Right? I disagree 100% on the fact that people usually tends to imagine that work is always negative. No, it isn't. In my perspective, in my learning experience, in my path through this realm or through this world, I have to say that I wasn't taught that work was a negative thing. One has to work. Work is a constant in life. Actually, work is a constant in physics too. Work is a force in the spectrum of the physics environment of what we're talking about. Work is a force. It exists. It's energy. Work is energy. So energy is not a negative thing. I mean, yeah, work is not a force. Work is energy, right? Work is a force exerted, right? So how can you say that energy is a negative thing? No, it requires effort, yes, but then one has to learn to enjoy that effort. You cannot say that work is a bad thing. Like energy is a bad thing. No, it cannot be, right? It's a bad thing because you are the one that is making the effort to right to apply it to are is it work a bad thing because it requires you to do something to move to no, then learn to enjoy work, right? And that's where I say, well, of course your inner child must learn that work is a constant in the universe, in life, because work is energy. It's the same. It's part of all. So learn to enjoy it so that you're happier in life. Otherwise, you're always going to be miserable. Miserable. If you always say, "Oh, work is so boring. Work is, I don't like work." Well, then you're gonna be miserable all the time because everything you do is work. Every little thing. Otherwise, you're gonna be dead, right? You just better stay in bed, lying on your mattress, doing absolutely nothing, like really nothing. You're dead. If you're going to live life, you're going to have to work, no matter what. Even standing up from your bed requires a certain amount of work, because again, work is energy. Again, in the lexicon of physics, it's the same. It's exactly the same. It's an uh, equality. So you're just gonna have to do something. Well, that's where in this kind of topics, people start saying, well, that's why you have to enjoy work, right? And that's where, in my position, I always say, well, children are supposed to be taught to enjoy to work. And I disagree with the, 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 the paradigm or the dogma that people usually say, well, children are not supposed to work. No, children are supposed to work. What children must be protected against is the exploitation of their work. That's something different. If someone is going to gain from their work, then they are supposed to receive part of that wealth. Simple. And they are not supposed to be forced into realizing that work. That's true. But parents are responsible for teaching their children to work, to enjoy work, even if it's working in the house, cleaning something, right? Trying to do something in their lives, right? That is something that they need to do. Simple. And they are not supposed to hate it. Otherwise, what are they going? How are they going to live in an extreme uh, environment of not caring about anything, about cleanliness, about cleaning their. I mean, I'm not a clean freak, for example, right? If you see my bedroom, if you were to see my bedroom is not clean all the time, or not tidy, or not organized. But there is a fair amount of cleanliness, right? I sweep the floor every now and then. I try to keep it as organized as possible, right? Because again, it's a necessity, right? Is it annoying to do it? Perhaps, yes. I'm not denying it, but I don't get mad for doing it either, right? I don't put myself into the position that, oh no, it's so annoying that I don't want to do it, or it's so annoying that somebody else has to do it for me. In the end, it's going to be almost impossible for you to find somebody else to do your report, because that's something that at the end, people's going to say, you know what, do it yourself. At the end of the life of your life, somebody's going to say to you, you know what, do it yourself. Learn to grow up. Right? If you want to live in a tidy, clean environment, hey, do it yourself. And one sees it in shows and right in TV shows where people grow up and they don't know how to do it. Simple things like, or because they don't like it or whatever. They were taught that they're not supposed to do that. Well, again, you have to work for that, right? You have to put something into it, right? And that's why I don't agree again with the lecture, right? They put work as a negative thing, and the problem is that they don't realize that work is energy, and one has to let that energy flow. And is it difficult? Yes, but one has to learn to enjoy it, period. And that's where I also agree with the reading. You have to learn to enjoy that, right? Find a way in which you say, okay, I'm gonna enjoy it, and I'm going to enjoy doing it, and I'm going to do it happily, without any kind of tantrums or bad faces, right? Or any kind of disrespect for the work that I'm doing. Well, those are my considerations on the reading of today. If you like the reading and those considerations, please give it a thumbs up. Leave any comments below. Subscribe to the social media, to my social media. Share it through yours. And if, as always, if provenance allows it, we will meet each other in a different day.